What's up YouTube? Drew here. Today I want to do a more laid back conversation style type video talking about my experience with Test Track 3.0 over at EPCOT officially opening on July 22nd. My friend John invited me out to cast member previews, which is how I was able to experience the attraction before it officially opens, and I want to discuss my first thoughts, impressions, and why this is my favorite iteration of Test Track. Also, if you guys enjoy what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. The link will be in the description. With that being said, let's talk about Test Track. I have been very excited about Test Track 3.0 since this attraction was first announced back at Destination D23 in 2023. I was there in the room when it was announced, and also just the fact that Test Track 1.0, when it was an actual test track with all the crash dummies and a true test course, those are some of my earliest memories as a kid visiting Walt Disney World. I vividly remember loving the queue and the pre-show and the ride experience, and I just have a special place for that attraction. So now it's kind of come full circle for me, getting to cover these projects for all of you who are familiar with all of my updates over on Twitter, and now even doing longer YouTube videos, doing deep dives on these attractions when new details are shared up until when they open. So I always have loved Test Track, and now getting to cover it, it's pretty cool for me. But what I will say is that something that did age very well is that last year on June 17th, when the construction walls first went up before any major work had really started, I said that I firmly believed that Test Track 3.0 would be the best one yet, and I think it is. So I want to play that video now from last year and then talk about why I believe that I was right. But I firmly believe that Test Track 3.0, with this world of motion inspiration and that one piece of concept art we got with the nature aspect, I firmly believe that this will be the best iteration of Test Track by far. I don't even think it's going to be a competition personally, and just the fact that that world of motion inspiration could also mean that we're going to get It's Fun to Be Free back. If you don't know, It's Fun to Be Free was the song for World of Motion here at EPCOT in the 80s. That's a classic EPCOT song for a classic EPCOT attraction. And I love the fact that they're talking about World of Motion, bringing back some of the stuff that people loved in the 80s to this brand new iteration of Test Track. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I really hope that the song comes back, but I look forward to having a new project to follow, and I hope you guys will join me on this journey. I had a big smile on my face watching that video, to say the least, now that I've been on Test Track 3.0, but that's what I want to talk about now, kind of going in order from when you first arrive to the ride, looking at the new entrance structure, to the queue, and then to the actual on-ride experience. So, first off, I will mention I am a massive fan of the world of motion inspiration that both General Motors and Walt Disney Imagineering really leaned into with this iteration of Test Track. For those of you who don't know, World of Motion was the original attraction in this same pavilion building all the way back at EPCOT on opening day, and General Motors has been the presenting company of this pavilion since opening day for almost 45 years now. We went from General Motors with World of Motion, and then back to Chevrolet, and then now with General Motors once again, but it's still the same company. GM is the parent company of Chevy, and honestly, just the fact that it's Test Track presented by General Motors is a nod to World of Motion, because that's what was there back in 1982. This new entrance structure perfectly extends the same motif of the original pavilion. It looks like it's been there since the beginning, and it's also a perfect cover with the rain for all the cast members. It's awesome. It's a really nice extension of something that people have loved for over 40 years in my opinion. So definitely check out this entrance structure. Know that is inspired by the original World of Motion pavilion. When you first walk into the indoor queue, my first thoughts were, this feels very open, airy, welcoming. It's a lot better than what we had before in my opinion, because of the natural lighting with the windows that have been fully opened, allowing that entire room to just be natural light. And the queue itself, the story here is that we're really seeing the vehicles of General Motors and the people behind them that make them a reality. There are 6 distinct exhibits in the queue line, and you'll see those as you're walking in that first main room. And then when you actually move into where the design studio used to be in 2.0, that has been removed completely, which I'm very happy about. For all of the parents out there, I'm sure that your kids loved designing the vehicles, but in my opinion, I think it was outdated kind of when it debuted, and the fact that like the vehicles never worked on the ride, it just felt very clunky. It slowed you down when you were in line. Now, all you have are 6 exhibits. You're walking through, you see vehicles, videos, and then you're on the ride. So I honestly love the fact that there's no more design studio, there's no pre-show. All you're doing is waiting in line and getting on the ride, and I think that's all you need. Heavy spoiler warning here as I get to the load station and then to the on-ride experience, but in full transparency, whenever Disney first revealed these ride vehicles for Test Track 3.0, I did not like them at all. I thought that they were a very uninspired design, and I just wasn't impressed when they were first revealed. But seeing the final product in person, I honestly thought was fine. They added some decals, kind of making these the test vehicles as we're going into the test track itself. And my favorite thing is the white light bar that's dynamic that you can see in the load station itself. And not only is the light bar on the ride vehicles itself moving, whenever the ride vehicles dispatch, there's also some blue lights above the vehicles that darken whenever the vehicles send off. So there's lots of kinetic energy in the load station itself, which I think is a massive improvement over what we had before, and also the fact that the final product of the vehicles looks a lot better than I was expecting, which I was very happy about. Now, once you get onto the ride itself, these vehicles have been refurbished with new seatbelts and seating, and I also thought that the ride felt a lot smoother. I don't know if any work was done on the track in making things smooth, but it felt smoother. Maybe I'm imagining that, but I think it was smoother. But whenever you first dispatch out of the load station and head up to the seatbelt check, one of my favorite things as a nod to both the original World of Motion, for the original World of Motion, like I mentioned earlier, the original attraction, you could actually see those ride vehicles outside going into the pavilion building. And I absolutely think that this is a nod because you can see these ride vehicles from the queue, and then once you're on the ride itself, you're actually looking out into the queue. As on World of Motion, if you were on that ride, you'd be looking out into EPCOT. Here, you're looking out into the queue. It's a very similar design process, which I think is pretty cool, and just such a simple touch being able to see the ride vehicles. But honestly, one of my favorite parts about the entire attraction, and that's also something that they brought back from Test Track 1.0. So this is a double Easter egg from World of Motion and Test Track 1.0, being able to see the vehicles in the queue line and looking into the queue line from the ride vehicle itself. And this is where we head into the test track. So the storyline for this ride, the best way that I can describe it, is a lot of the ride is focusing on a car's perspective of technology, which is set up immediately from the dual narration on the ride itself. One of the narrators is a male voice, and that's talking about what we are seeing as humans and kind of the storyline, where the female narrator voice on the ride is the car talking to you. So you have dual narration, one is a person, one's a car, and I think it's pretty cool. I actually love the voice actors here. I think they did a very fun job with their performances. Sometimes I'm not a huge fan of acting in rides, but I will say I like this a lot more than the performances we see over in Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, even though I do love that attraction. The first scene when you're going up the hill, it's nothing crazy, but what I do love is that whenever you first reach the top of the hill, there's a really nice musical moment and some lighting as you kind of arrive onto the test track and then head into the first major show scene on the ride. Now, I was very impressed with what Walt Disney Imagineering did here. You were going through essentially downtown of a city, and at first you see the city with all the lighting and the buildings, and then just like that, the scene transforms around you from a human's perspective into a car's perspective. And this is honestly one of my favorite creative decisions I've ever seen in a ride because it uses digital elements so perfectly. What I mean by that is I think now more than ever we've seen companies lean into digital media in attractions, and sometimes it feels very inexpensive and a cost-effective option to get something done quicker, and it's just not impressive. But here you have physical buildings that transform with all of this incredible projection mapping, in real time, and for me that was just such a cool moment because it's not done just to do it. It's done because it fits the creative direction of this is what a car is seeing with its sensors and its cameras, and that continues throughout the entire scene as the car is like, well, we gotta look out for what's coming up ahead and if there's any surprises, and sure enough there's another vehicle, the car detects that, and then you bank off to the left, which this track has been here for decades. So they took the track layout that's been here for so long and incorporated it perfectly into the storyline with a near miss moment. It makes it feel like you're actually supposed to be moving to the left there in a near miss. I really, really love this. Honestly, the videos don't do it justice. If you're looking at the video and you're like, it feels dark, it looks simple. When you're there in person, you can actually see these 29,000 points of light surrounding you, and you're putting yourself through a car's eyes as it's seeing the world. It's really, really cool. Now here you turn the corner and you're basically entering a smart road and how cars can get energy through smart roads. Now, in full transparency, this is my least favorite scene on the entire ride, and I would have loved a little bit more done in this scene specifically, but with that being said, it's not bad by any means. There's a couple of physical elements as your car is going down, you know, those actual charging elements, and when you first turn the corner, those actually light up in real time, so they're kind of going down, and as the vehicle moves, the lights are all synced with it. In addition to those actual physical lights on the sides of the track, on the ground, on each side of the vehicle, there's multicolored lights that also follow the vehicle, which is done really nicely. It's very simple lighting, but again, it fits the story. The only thing I would have done differently here is probably had more lights up above to add some more kineticism and light in the scene itself that also follows the car. So you have lights on the ground, lights on the side of the vehicles, and lights above. I think that would have been a very simple touch that would have made it better, but again, it's not bad by any means, just my least favorite scene on the attraction. After this, you enter one of my favorite, and honestly, this is one of the things that I was very impressed by. There is a physical house that you enter here, and you have a minute to kind of appreciate the facade of this house, but Epcot fans, take note here. The address of the house is 10182, a beautiful nod to opening day of Epcot, October 1st, 1982. That is to the left by the door of the house. So if you were sitting on the left side of the vehicle, it's much easier to spot. I'll put a video on screen for you guys. But as you're entering the house, a really fun Easter egg from Walt Disney Imagineering that I noticed immediately, and I had a giant smile on my face. Once you enter the house, this is the storyline of being able to customize your vehicles at home. Kind of a glimpse into what the future of technology could be like. And there is so many physical set pieces here. I was just so happy to see the level of detail here, to feel like you're actually in a house. There's so much stuff here that makes it feel like it's a real house that's been lived in the future. From a futuristic car to the things that you would just see in a house, even today in the world that we're currently living in. And it kind of brought back a similar design idea from Test Track 2.0, where you're looking at these windows and the car is transforming in front of your eyes. Very similar to what we had before, but in a sense it's unique because it's better. It's a lot better from what we had before because there is a story being told here and it's not just there. Like, the story feels so much more cohesive with 3.0, where everything that you're seeing makes sense because the creative vision was there from before they even started working on the actual attraction itself, if that makes sense. And seeing the car talk to you here, this is where the female voice is talking to you, and I want to show them what it's like to transform the vehicle, and you're looking to the left, the vehicle loads, and then it transforms right in front of your eyes. And then as you pass through to the next room, these are the former hot and cold rooms from the original Test Track, you see multiple vehicles here, as if the car is being customized multiple times in a matter of seconds, and I just really like how it was done. The quality of the digital media here is pretty solid, especially the fact that you get to see yourself, so it's a physical reflection of the vehicle that you're in, also mixed with digital storytelling. And then followed by this, there is a nod to Test Track 1.0 with the colors that were used in that attraction of the Test Track itself, the black and yellows. The vehicle that you see before you head into the next scene looks very, very reminiscent of something that you would see in Test Track 1.0, so that also put a smile on my face because it's kind of showing a prototype of a futuristic vehicle, but with the colors of the ride that we know and love from a couple decades back, which I think was awesome. And this leads directly to the Joyride outdoor scene, kind of appreciating the outdoor nature of Earth with a car ride moment. And at the very beginning here, another incredible EPCOT nod that I am so happy happened. It's Fun to Be Free has returned, the original theme song from World of Motion. The car says it's fun to be free, and then you hear a few notes of that original song mixed with an all-new musical score, which the new music is awesome, but personally I would have loved if this entire scene was just It's Fun to Be Free. I think that that's one of the things that I really wish is that there was more It's Fun to Be Free, but at the same time, I'm grateful that the teams acknowledged this song and brought it back at all. I'm not going to ignore that this effort was made, though I would want more of it if I had to say, but I don't. I'm just reviewing the ride here. But happy that it's back at all. This scene looks a lot better in person from what you were seeing on the video. The atmosphere and the lighting really doesn't translate well to video in the sense that this is a true joyride with the elements that are on the ride itself. You can smell the trees, the pine tree scent is there and it's noticeable. Another ride at EPCOT now with scents similar to Soarin' and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Also, the fact that you can hear birds chirping and the sound of rocks falling, and the lighting in person just looks a lot better, up to that final turn where you kind of see an overlook with a sunset, delivering on that concept art like I mentioned. This scene is done really, really well, and it feels authentic to as if you were driving on a hillside through nature, but you're in the middle of EPCOT. After that, you were taken to that near miss moment that we all know and love with the truck, but the truck's been updated to a futuristic truck, and the car, the female voice jokes about, she saw the truck coming because of the sensors and cameras. So again, it fits into the story better than ever because there's an actual reason for it happening, and just a perfect reuse of a moment that we've loved for decades now. After you see that, you head into a very, very impressive element of this ride that exceeded my expectations majorly. That final moment before you launch into the outdoor scene is visually stunning. But this scene was actually brought to life by Spitz Inc. with this incredible dome projection scene. It looks so much better in person. It really feels like you're in this futuristic city. Fun fact, Spitz Inc., the company that did this, also did the Galaxarium over at the beginning of the queue for Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which if you watched my YouTube video over on DSNY Newscast last year, I talked about the fact that a permit was filed for Spitz Inc. and there was going to be some sort of dome projection moment in this ride. At the time, I didn't know it was going to be for this incredible finale scene, but permits do give a good look into what's coming, and sure enough, almost a year later, the stuff I talked about with Spitz Inc. and the permits and all the domes and projections and what this company does with Imagineering aged beautifully, because this scene is just so damn cool. This is far beyond what I was expecting for anything in this ride, and the fact that this is the last thing you see kind of where the world might be headed as you go into the classic outdoor scene where your vehicles reach 65 miles per hour. This scene alone makes the ride worth going on, and honestly, I'm going to be going on the ride just to appreciate the scene more and more. The only thing that has changed on the outdoor section of the attraction is an all-new musical score, and the fact at the very end, before you go on the bank around the show building itself, that screen is now fully digital, and the vehicles are now going 0.2 miles per hour faster. Before it showed 64.9, and now it shows 65.1. So a nice little update there with that final screen, and just the fact that it accurately shows how fast the vehicles are going. But at the very end of the ride, there's a little moment between the narrators talking about, leave the jokes up to the car itself, which is kind of talked about through the entire ride, is how the car knows what's best because of its technology, and I think the riding is done pretty well here. But the last thing you see before you get off the ride is kind of a sizzle reel of General Motors and Chevrolet's products with the current technology and vehicle lineup that they have today, which directly sets up what you see with the vehicle showcase after you get off the attraction, or you can actually sit in the cars with their current vehicle lineup. So, well, obviously this is a promotional moment for General Motors as the presenting company of this pavilion. At that point, I think it's appropriate because when you see the sizzle reel on the ride itself, it's literally teasing what you were about to see with the vehicles that they have before you walk through the gift shop and then head back into EPCOT. But before you even see that, there's an incredible original mural done here which depicts that grand finale scene like I talked about with that dome screen moment. The fact that they incorporated that scene into the on-ride photo and an original mural is just awesome, really making this attraction feel EPCOT-y, if that makes sense. I feel like giant murals and artwork and technology and education is such a massive part of EPCOT. And when you're kind of talking about where the world might be headed with all original art and vehicles and the city itself, I just love that so much. That screams EPCOT to me, and the teams working on this project really got it right. I had the opportunity to talk to Scott Malwitz, who is the executive creative director of Test Track 3.0 at Walt Disney Imagineering. Funny enough, the first time I talked to Scott and took a photo with him was at D23 when the ride was first announced. And now I got to talk to him when he was here at the ride, watching everyone's reactions to he and his team's work over the last couple years alongside General Motors. When I told him that I loved the ride, his exact response was, "There is a lot to love." Which, saying there's a lot to love is honestly the perfect encapsulation of Test Track 3.0 because it's a major home run for EPCOT, and I think the absolute best outcome that we could have got for this ride, if that makes sense. When you already have the ride vehicles and the track layout, and you just have to plus that and make it work in a better way for everyone to enjoy, they did that. They absolutely nailed it. So it's just so nice to see people online loving this iteration of Test Track from everything that I've seen. It seems like the reactions have been overwhelmingly positive, and now that I've been on the ride, I think that that's rightfully so. It's a great experience, and I hope all of you love Test Track 3.0 as much as I did when you get to ride it. With that being said, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you all in my next one.